It's Dan and Don from theclinicaltrialsguru.com. We got forwarded an interesting article from Shelley Peterson, and thank you for sending that to me, Shelley. I've been busy these days, so I haven't been keeping in touch with what's going on. But apparently Pfizer has been embarking on a first all-electronic clinical trial. And just a little bit about it. It's an all-electronic home-based clinical trial. It got an okay from U.S. regulators to begin. Sounds like it's a phase 4 study. They're using it on patients with overactive bladder. So basically they're running ads online. And if someone who has overactive bladder sees it, they'll click on the ad. And then they'll say, hey, join a clinical trial all from your home. We're going to mail you the drug and mail you the necessary supplies. The article doesn't go into that much detail about what kind of procedures are involved, but we can't imagine it's anything complex. Again, it sounds like a phase 4 study where it's like a post-marketing study. And we've talked about this before. This can work for phase 4 studies, but when you get into more complex protocols, protocols that require ECGs at certain times, or certain rating scales to be done. I mean, theoretically you can do that online as well, but the ECGs you would actually need to be physically present for. I don't know, it does raise an interesting question of the future of clinical trial.
Exactly. I mean, I guess there's many ways you can approach this. Even if they're sending the medication to them at home, they can always go to a doctor's office and get an EKG and get some of that testing done, and go to a lab and have the blood drawn, and pharma could just contract with each one of those individuals and just pay them one time. How would that impact us? How would that impact the different sites out there? They could probably even go online and have them do the ratings right there on the computer, but you got to make sure people have access to a computer, which becomes another issue.
Yeah, in this study they did say in the article that the patients will enter their own data by way of smartphones, so like an iPhone or a Droid, or a computer. So they have to have either a smartphone or a computer with internet access, and then they're going to be inputting their own data. This is a very simple study, though, so you can rely on patient-reported outcomes.
I guess the questions you have to ask for those of us who are in the industry and who are servicing Big Pharma is, how does that impact us? Where do we see this going, and is it going to be something that's going to become widespread? And how does it impact us? We base our contracts, when we set up these contracts with pharmas, they get paid for our services based on the things that we do. And how is that going to impact your contract? Because if they're going to handle things this way, it means that it might be a limited involvement for the clinical sites. And it eliminate the need for, I mean, in this case, you don't need a coordinator, and you don't need a PI.
You don't, and now here's one of the drawbacks. What if I'm someone who has overactive bladder, I join the study, and I post my results on Facebook, and now I'm releasing confidential pharmaceutical company information that in a controlled clinical trial would not be getting out. But now, since I'm entering all the data, I can theoretically post my data on Facebook or on Twitter, and another patient can see that and say, hey, I'm in that study too, here's my results. Pretty soon a competitor can see those results.
And we all have to go through what we call good clinical practice, and to ensure that we're following, all the necessary rules and laws that are laid in place to protect the well-being and the health of anyone that's participating in a study, as well as protecting their information. An individual who's doing that, they're responsible for protecting their own information. But my question is how do you know they're taking the medication? At a clinical site, you have someone to hold responsible for that. But can you hold that individual who's taking the medication? Can you hold them for responsibly taking that medication?
Yeah, well, they're hoping that, for something like overactive bladder, they'd want to take it. And I don't know if they actually get compensated for the study or not. The article did not say anything about that.
I imagine they probably would.
Nominal fee.
Unless the benefit is strictly that they're able to get some medication that may work for their situation.
Right.
So I think it brings about a lot of different questions. Again, as Dan pointed out, is how do you control the data flow, and where it's going to be placed. You know, they might want to tell a friend about it on Facebook, and there you go.
And pharma loves to control their information. So
You
once
know.
you start opening it up like this, and you're putting the information directly in the hands of the participants, they're not obligated to. I mean, maybe they have to sign some kind of secrecy document. I don't know.
Yeah.
But these are things that we definitely have to think about.
So it's something I think we all should keep our eyes open and our ears open and see what happens, and just, you know, see where this whole thing goes. And it may turn out that it might be something that we all can benefit from. And in the other sense, it might be able to set something up at your sites and have patients come at your sites and use the computer. I don't know. I'm just sort of throwing some things out there, but there's many different ways to look at this, both positive and negative, and but nonetheless, it's coming.
It's coming, and starting with phase 4. So we'll see this for the next maybe decade before it, if ever, moves to phase 3 or 2.
Yeah.
But at phase 4, it's doable, and we've talked about that even a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
So I hope this helps. Let us know what your thoughts are on this new trend. It's Dan and Don from theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Thanks a lot.